film a very specific part of the humanitarian aid flying in from Jordan inside of the Gaza Strip. Like, that's it. And they still had military censors that would go through their footage. That's not real journalism. That's bullshit, right? And there's got to be a reason for that, right? I know, and if you collab with Assignment, we're probably not going to look at that right now.
I would not be telling you the truth if I didn't tell you that within the Democratic Party, there are billionaires who have undue influence. Democrats have turned their backs on the working class of this country.
That was Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez drawing more than 30,000 supporters in Denver on Friday. I was there and spoke with Senator Sanders after the rally about whether the Democratic Party can do anything to slow President Trump's agenda.
Bernie is back.
Hey, Mr. Trump, people fought and died to create a democratic society. You're not going to take it away from us.
I mean, he is.
83-year-old independent Senator Bernie Sanders is drawing crowds like even bigger than he did as a presidential candidate.
Feeling the burn.
Yeah.
For the past month, Sanders has taken his fight against President Donald Trump on the road. He's billing it the Fighting Oligarchy Tour.
We will not allow America to become an oligarchy.
In Denver, the anti-Trump sentiment was strong.
Oh, I think it's a disaster. And he talks about he has a mandate. He never had a mandate.
But so was the frustration with Democrats.
How's the Democratic Party doing challenging this?
They got to be a little tougher.
Quit being a bunch of doormats.
It feels like we're left stranded when everything feels like it's crumbling.
Tour's Western swing, Sanders was joined by New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
He has handed the keys of the federal government to Elon Musk and is selling off our country for parts to the richest people on the planet.
More than 30,000 people showed up for their joint appearance in Denver.
Look, as you know, when you run for president, you do a lot of rallies, and we've done a lot of big rallies. 32,000 people here is by far the largest rally I have ever done, and nobody's running for office. That tells you something.
So what are you trying to accomplish with this tour?
I'm trying to make it clear to the people throughout the world and throughout our own country that the American people are not going to sit idly by and allow Trump establish an oligarchic form of government where Musk and other billionaires are running our government. And we're not going to sit back and allow him to form an authoritarian form of society undermining the Constitution, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and undoing what the founding fathers of this country did in the 1790s, separation of powers, making sure that no one person had an extraordinary amount of power. And that is precisely what Trump is trying to do. He wants it all. He doesn't want Congress. He doesn't want the media. He doesn't want the judiciary. He wants all of the power. We cannot allow him to have that.
Well, I hear you telling people out there, fight back. What do you mean, though? How do they fight back?
Well, it's the question. We're working on it right now. But I think, first of all, coming here and showing the world that...
I think Bernie Sanders especially, I wouldn't even say this about AOC, but Bernie Sanders especially should be bolder and more courageous and not shy away from, saying the S word a little bit. I like this is common sense, this is common sense rhetoric. But like the stuff that like AOC's team is writing for her in terms of my opinions are not ones that are extreme or radical. It's not in the Communist Manifesto. I have these opinions because I care about like workers or whatever. Like you don't have to shit on. Like you don't have to run around and be like, I'm a card carrying communist. I'm a Maoist third worldist or whatever. That's not the expectation, right? But there's no reason to present yourself as like anti-communist because it falls back into the same framework. I say this about Democrats across the board for the record. Not just AOC. even though it's worse when it's someone like AOC, who's supposed to be like a person who ran on the Democratic Socialist ticket, right? DSA. When I don't even think Nancy Pelosi should be coming out and being like, I'm not a socialist, I'm not a communist, fuck communism, fuck socialism. I think that's a self-goal. Like, that's a self-own. And the reason for why I think that is because Republicans use this as a rhetorical tool to disparage you regardless. Whether you say you're for socialism or against socialism, they say socialism bad. You repeating socialism bad as a tactic is not going to cause people to look at you and go, okay, well, they're saying they're not socialists. Now I like them. They just simply still think you're a socialist. Like half the country still thinks you're a socialist and that it's a bad thing, right? It was ironically Pete Buttigieg that said one of my favorite things about this a very long time ago, I think when everyone was like trying to present themselves as much more radical, where he said, you know, what was it? What did he say? He said something along the lines of like, you know, Republicans call us a socialist. They, whether or not we are advocating for socialist policies or not advocating for social policies, I don't care about this distinction. I just want to do right by the working class. Something along those lines, he said. And there is no reason to adopt conservative and reactionary framework that implies that socialism is a bad thing or communism is a bad thing across the board. Especially because... Get out there. Yeah. Oh, Tim Walz also said this as well. Tim Walz said something similar as well. So the thing... No. Pete Buttigieg said that back in like... I remember very clearly Pete Buttigieg saying something similar to what Tim Walz has said as well. Trust me. Yeah, here. GOP will call us crazy socialists no matter what our policies are. Yep.
Time to stop worrying about what the Republicans will say. Look, if it's true that if we embrace...
I mean, he is a very skilled orator. His policies are awful. And I think he's a demon. I think he's a neoliberal demon in general. But like, as a skilled orator whose father is like the formative guy who translated all of Gramsci's works as a Marxist, I guess he like accidentally figured a couple things out. But
a far left agenda, they're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. If we embrace a conservative agenda, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. So let's just stand up for the right policy, go out there and defend it. That's the policy I'm putting forward.
Now, ironically, he wasn't putting up any policies that were defensible, but regardless, that it's just like, it does not matter. It does not matter what Republicans say. They call Jeff Bezos a socialist, man. You're so stupid if you think that like Republicans are going to be honest and stop using socialism as a pejorative. Trump uses Palestinian as a pejorative.
Get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Yep. Great way to frame it. Great way to frame it. Tim Walz, my goat. So I think it's a mistake. My expectation is not for AOC to run around with the little red book attached at the hip, right? That's not my expectation at all. However, my expectation absolutely is that you don't adopt the framework of the right. Never adopt the framework of the right. Never adopt your enemy's frame of reference. No. They do not live in this plane of existence. They do not live on the same planet as us. They have created their own version of events for virtually everything. I find it very silly that these guys who are increasingly more manic, increasingly more insane, are able to dominate discourse in a very aggressive manner. Yeah, Summer Lee said that, and AOC agreed with Summer Lee back then, you know? They're going to call you socialist anyway. There's no reason. There's no reason to, like, reject socialism. It's just so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so silly. Don't do it. I don't think you should ever do it. You should never concede on your opposition's framework, especially when your opposition is the Republican Party, especially when your opposition is the modern Republican Party that basically makes everything up. Okay? They make everything up anyway. There is no reason to go, hey, gotta hand it to those guys. They made this shit up so good that a lot of people believe it now. You know? Yeah, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And that is the genuine issue with the modern Democratic Party, which is that they are not identifiable. There are no singular policies. There's no tangible policy association with the party. There's nothing you can point to. Nothing at all. And that's a real issue. And that actually presents a unique weakness that the Republicans exploit all the time. That's why they can just be like, these guys, they only care about giving Guatemalan migrants bottom surgery in prisons or whatever, right? It's like shit that the Trump administration also did. Like, who cares? It's not like a big part of it's not really breaking the bank, right? They can hyper focus on like random things and belittle you and bully you and make you stand for whatever issues they claim you stand for if you don't have any positive issues that you are presenting to the broader public. This feels like shadow boxing though. No, this is a minor note that I heard from AOC in her speech at the Nevada rally, where she said this line that now she's using in her emails as well, which is like, my opinions are not extremist radical opinions. They're not, I didn't get them from the Communist Manifesto, implying that the Communist Manifesto is like a radical extremist piece of work. It's actually because I care about labor. And I get what she's trying to do there, right? Like, I understand what she's trying to do. She's trying to say, like, these are common sense opinions. But the best way to do that is not by disparaging like the Communist Manifesto or socialism in general, right? Like, disappointed to learn today AOC's email list that reading the Communist Manifesto makes me extremist. Fox News and the right wing would have you believe that my American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto, but I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm an extremist. I believe these things because I was a waitress, which is like, I think that line without the Communist Manifesto is fantastic. I don't believe in healthcare, labor. Like, right wingers would have you believe that caring about healthcare, labor, and human dignity is an extremist value. But I don't believe in those things because I'm an extremist. I think they're the extremists. I believe those things because I was working class is like totally a solid way to reframe the conversation. You don't have to like associate Marxism and socialism with extremist values, especially because they will consistently keep using that as a weapon against definitely AOC and everybody else. They use it against Nancy Pelosi. They even use it against the likes of Jeff Bezos. So there is no reason to ever adopt that framework. I said this during the anti-Semitism and the protest debacle that was taking place, and Kamala Harris was like, anti-Semitism at these protests and these pro-Palestinian protests are completely unacceptable. You cannot burn an American flag. It's like, why are you taking ownership over that? Republicans never take ownership over actual radical issues, right? Like actual insane shit that their base of support is actively on board with. They provide cover for actual Nazis. There is no moral equivalence between socialists and Nazis, okay? I'm not saying that. But if there's like supposedly this golden mean, this center of American politics, and you have Nazis on the one side and you have socialists on the other, which again, not a real moral equivalence here. There's no moral equivocation between neo-Nazi sentiment and socialist sentiment, obviously. That's why I can openly say that I am a socialist, whereas Nazis can't really openly say that they're Nazis unless they're now on Twitter, and now they do say that they're Nazis, but even then they try to hide it sometimes. Basically, my point is there's never a reason to own what the right is claiming is what your fans are doing. There's no reason to do that. If you are reaching a broader audience, there's no reason to take ownership over it and defend it even. Just don't even talk about it. Who cares? Deflect. You're a politician. You do it all the time. Politicians deflect expertly all the time when it comes to issues that will tangibly materially improve the working class. They're so good at deflecting away from, hey, when are we going to get health care? Why can't you deflect away from this? Perhaps the reason why, and this is not for AOC, this is not my criticism for AOC at all, but the reason why someone like Kamala Harris or many others don't actually deflect away from that is because they agree. They don't fuck with socialism, and they also think that they should be the controlled opposition that stops any sort of more left populist movements from developing in this country. But if you are Bernie Sanders, or if you're AOC, if you're Summer Lee, if you are a member of the squad, you should never, ever in a million years stand in opposition to more radical elements within your base of support. That's part of the reason why I also stray away from routinely criticizing people to the left of me, right? Unless there's someone that is engaging in reactionary thought, like the MAGA communists or whatever, and even then I rarely talk about them. Despite the fact that they're up my asshole on a regular basis. The reason why I don't talk about them in general, the reason why I don't talk about people to the left of me in general, is because I see no value in criticizing them, because they're moving the needle in their own way in a direction that I think this country should head, right? Like I'll make jokes about ultras, Marxist, Leninists, anarchists, and everyone that's ostensibly on the anti-capitalist side of things, but those are just like light ribbing. It's not, I don't have like a sincere reason to despise them or anything like that. I don't care. It's just like at most a nuisance. You know what I mean? You just advocate for solid policies that materially improve American working class, the lives of the American working class. That's what you need to do. Is that your way of apologizing to anarchists, or should they still be mad at you? Oh, shut up. I don't care about anarchists getting mad at me. There's plenty of you in here right now. And you keep coming back because I keep spitting that hot garbage you like, okay? Give me a goddamn break. It would be so simple to just reframe their argument as if being pro-labor is a Marxist position, then every service worker, electrician, factory worker, and nurse is a Marxist. People calling this a Marxist policy is trying to scare you, trying to hurt you. Yeah. One must ask the question why this is so scary. This is such a scary opinion. One must ask the question why. There's so many scary thoughts. Like the Communist Manifesto, the Communist Manifesto is a pamphlet, dude. It is like the easiest read of all time. It's a couple pages. Everyone should read it. You don't have to agree with it if you don't want to, but you should still read it and you should learn about it. Why are you so afraid? Like what? Ooh, scary. You're going to agree with it? Oh no.
And Americans are not going to sit back and take what Trump is doing is a good step forward. But obviously what we need to do is what neither political party is capable of doing right now. And that is develop a strong grassroots movement prepared to run candidates, prepared to stand up and question candidates, demand responsibility from their elected officials to stand with working families and not just the 1%.
I've been covering you for a long, long time. I've heard you railing against millionaires and billionaires for a long time.
Hey, guess what?
Is it different?
Turns out a few other
You don't need to read the manifesto. There's better, smaller size reads. What are you talking about? The Communist Manifesto is the small size read. I'm not saying read Das Kapital. I'm saying read the Communist Manifesto. The Communist Manifesto is the bite-sized version. What is shorter than that? Sharing is caring. It will take you maximum half an hour if you're a slow reader. Like,
people are catching on to that, right? Yeah. I have been talking for many years about this country moving toward an oligarchy. And I think anybody who is not dumb, deaf, or blind is seeing precisely what is happening. Trump's inaugural, right behind him, 3 wealthiest guys in America. You know, Lincoln talked about a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Remember? Well, we got a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class. That's what we have.
So we're about 60 days into the Trump era, the second Trump era. How would you...
So you're a reformist? Only policies will deliver change? No. I always maintain, and I've told everybody this over and over again, that if you want to instill class consciousness in a country that is incredibly reactionary, like the United States of America, you have to use the appropriate venues that you have. You have tools at your disposal. Okay? Obviously, social democracy, look to Europe, is not this infallible, perfect utopia, because it will inevitably crumble under the pressures that exist here in the United States of America as well. But go ahead, run around talking about how much of a, how there's a need to build a vanguard party so we can violently overthrow the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie right now, and see how far you get with that. You know? My goal is, I look at the current situation. I look at messaging. I look at the current material conditions, and I look at the attitudes that the American working class has. Many people here in this country have no understanding of their class position. They just don't get it at all. So I think, especially right now, the most significant thing to do is to get them to recognize their class position. That's what I focus my efforts on. And I think it's important for people to recognize that, and it's important for people to organize. So there is a network that isn't just the Democratic Party, a network that can apply pressure to at least one of the two parties in this duopoly, or maybe another party that you could create potentially down the line. But you need people power to back that. Let's
grade the Democratic Party's response.
Well, I would take us back even 2 years before that, before Trump was elected, and saying that it saddens me that when the Democrats had control of the Senate, they did virtually nothing for working people. And I have to say that I'm a member of the Democratic caucus as an independent, so I'm not going to lie to you and tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
And since then, do I think the Democrats have been effective in rallying the American people, in stopping Trump's movement toward oligarchy and authoritarianism? No, I don't.
Is there anything that you think Trump has done right?
Yeah, I mean, I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Look, nobody thinks that illegal immigration is appropriate. And I happen to think we need
This is the part that was not great.
Comprehensive immigration reform. But I don't think that it's appropriate for people to be coming across the border illegally. So we've got to work now on comprehensive immigration reform. The idea that Trump has, I don't know what his...
Like, Bernie is supposed to be the guy that is like significantly to the left of the establishment Democrats. And this line right here is quite literally establishment Democrat line. That is like, that's towing the party line. You know? This is unironically the most libbed up thing you can hear from someone like Bernie, who is pro-immigration. Like his statement right here, for the record, is not, his statement right here is to try and say, no, we want to open up pathways of immigration so, you know, people aren't actually coming in illegally, that people don't have the need to come in illegally. But I think that that is the appropriate way to communicate this, rather than to say, yeah, nobody wants illegal migrants coming in. I hate them. Like, you know what I mean? This kind of stuff does matter, by the way, especially when your goal is to inspire people to you know, take matters in their own hands, to mobilize, to organize. They shouldn't be mobilizing and organizing on those boundaries, in my opinion, especially at a time when the current administration is doing Nazi concentration camp shit, right?
Latest emphasize, he wants to deport 20 million people who are in this country who are undocumented. Well, you do that, you destroy the entire country. Because I got news for you, Trump's billionaire friends are not going to pick the crops in California that feed us. They're not going to work in meat packing houses. That's what undocumented people are doing. So we need a variety of programs, guest worker programs, but mostly comprehensive immigration reform.
But you know, illegal immigration, it exploded under Biden, and it had been high for times under Trump as well. But it exploded under Biden, and nothing was really done until his last.
The moment that you adopt even marginally the Republican framework on this matter, a liberal centrist media outlet will immediately hit you on that and go, "It's exploding," and you say, "Yeah, it's not a bad thing that people want to come here." Let's examine why they want to come here. Part of it is because we've ruined their countries. If you don't want people to come here, nobody wants to leave their home. Nobody wants to leave their culture behind. Nobody wants to leave their families behind. They have to do that because we've ruined these countries. So we must examine why. Trump says he's a peaceful dove. What kind of peaceful dove activities has Donald Trump actually used? What kind of peaceful dove activities has Trump done? He claims to be an isolationist, for example. He's bombing Yemen. Every single president has bombed Yemen. Barack Obama bombed Yemen. Donald Trump bombed Yemen. Biden bombed Yemen. Now Trump is bombing Yemen again. How is that peaceful dove activity? He said he was going to figure out a deal for Ukraine and Russia day one. He said he was going to end the violence in Gaza day one. None of that has happened. Examine why people actually leave these countries if you don't want them to come to the United States of America. But having said that, there is no issue with people coming to the United States of America. We got plenty of space. We got plenty of jobs. There is no finite pool of labor. The real problem is not that there is a finite amount of jobs that are readily available, because when more people come in, you need more houses, you need more roads, you need more teachers, you need more doctors, you need more of everything, which means you need more jobs, right? It opens up more opportunities for the country to grow. As a matter of fact, that is how America has been such a dominant force on this planet and not run into the same issues that other countries have run into in terms of their birth rates, right? Here's the problem. The real issue is not that people are coming into this country and taking our jobs. The real issue is that people are coming into this country and not getting the proper documentation because they're desperate, and they're being exploited. And that is depressing wages for the U.S.-born working class individuals. But the billionaire class loves that. And they know that the more they ham up the anti-immigration sentiment. Hold on. Doors open. the more that they say immigrants are stealing your jobs, the more likely it is that you never actually document them, because they don't want you. They don't want those immigrants to get the documentation, because if they don't have that documentation, they can keep making them work for pennies on the dollar. That's it. That's it. That's the real issue. These are not bad people. These are not villains. These are not violent criminals. These are everyday people just like you and me.
Last year in office when he was...
Yep, should have done much better, no argument.
So realistically, Republicans control the House, they've controlled the White House, they control the Senate. So what realistically can be done?
Well, for major pieces of legislation, you still need 60 votes in the Senate. And let's be clear, I mean, we have picked many of the spots that I've gone to in Wisconsin, in Iowa, in Michigan.
What do you expect from a country founded on slavery and genocide? Chatter, that's defeatist. I recognize that as well. But that's a defeatist attitude to have. It's not a productive one to have, right? When you're like, oh, America's just racist. It's like unfixable, unsolvable. Okay, so what do? Nothing? We just step aside? There's no reason to have that conversation other than to say, I told you so, I guess. It might feel good to be like, I was right, and I told you so, and I knew that this was the case. Okay. You know? But that's defeatist. You have to, like, America is an incredibly reactionary country. America is an incredibly violently anti-communist, anti-socialist country, right? And yet I still try to explain these positions through common sense and try to get people on board with a different way of seeing the world, regardless of the antagonism that people feel due to social conditioning. If I were to have your attitude and say, what are you going to do? People are never going to shake away their white supremacist attitudes. They're never going to shake away their reactionary, counter-revolutionary, anti-communist, anti-socialist, anti-Marxist opinions. Then I would not have been able to grow a community such as this one that is comprised almost entirely of individuals that for one reason or another actually had their minds changed. You just can't stop advocating for what you know is the truth.
We chose them carefully.
Yeah.
And those are because they have Republican congressmen who won by small margins. Right now, I don't know what the number is. I think if 2 or 3 Republicans out of 200 and whatever it is, 18 or whatever they got, choose not to support giving tax breaks to billionaires and cutting Medicaid and education, we can defeat this big supplemental bill, the beautiful bill that Trump wants to see passed. So right now, what we're trying to do is put pressure on those congressional districts, demand that Republican Congress people sit down and talk to their constituents and explain why they think it's a good idea to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and cut veterans programs, cut Medicaid, cut Social Security, cut education.
You said that the passage of this bill, the continuing resolution, was a absolute failure of Democratic leadership. Who are you talking about?
Well, Schumer is the leader of the party, and it should not have happened, period. No question about it. But, when we talk about Democratic leadership, we're talking about the Democratic Party in general. So look, there's been nobody more critical of Chuck Schumer than I have been, and not just on this thing. But the bottom line is not just Chuck Schumer. It's not just Chuck Schumer. It is you got a Democratic Party in general that is dominated by billionaires, just as the Republican Party is, that operates under the leadership of a bunch of inside the Beltway consultants, very well paid, who are way out of touch with the 32,000 people who are here today.
Ocasio-Cortez's criticism of Schumer has been harsher, fueling speculation she'll challenge him in the Democratic primary when he is up for re-election in 3 years. For his part, Sanders doesn't want to talk about whether or not Schumer should remain the
I'm speaking at an Indivisible rally today. Can I get a good luck? Good luck, chatter.
Democratic leader in the Senate. and he got irritated when I asked him about the possibility of AOC running, abruptly getting up to end the interview.
Okay, you're out there with AOC today. Do you see her as a...
Before you, I had the idea that many other Maghrebis have about Palestinians, as we tend to victim blame and say it is their fault. They should not have sold their land. But thanks to you, I know that even if they did sell the land, this does not give the right to Israel to bomb them. Also, they didn't. The amount of land, first of all, landlords own the land. Palestinians don't. And even if it's a Palestinian landlord that owned the land under the Ottoman rulership, the land that the early Zionists were able to purchase was 6% of the land. 6%. And it wasn't even like good land either. So the idea that like Israel actually by the books legally created its country is a lie.
future of the progressive...
We have one of the untold stories
Yeah.
of what's going on in current American politics is that in the House of Representatives, you have dozens and dozens of strong, smart, disciplined, hardworking young people in the Progressive Caucus. And you know, way back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people in it at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandria is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
No, I asked you.
Okay.
You know, you want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
No, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last...
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier to...
Damn, what the hell?
I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd. You said you ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen. Are we going to see you run again, or what's your future?
No, right now...
That's so fun. I didn't even realize he just got up from this interview. That's crazy.
I am very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont senator. That's what I do.
Yeah. The reason why he got mad is you're correct, Lightbender. My mom wants to know why he got upset during this interview. I told her, in my opinion, it's because he's trying to stay on message while they're more concerned about who the Democrat leader is. Kind of like how you cover a topic and a chatter comes about drama bait. Yeah. No. As a journalist, his job is to get like journalists and clip farmers operate in a similar capacity. By the way, speaking of clip farmers, oh my God, look at this. I'm getting botted again. Anyway, fantastic. Speaking of journalists and botting. So here's the way that journals work is not dissimilar to like LSF clippers, right? His job there is to also get like a quotable moment. And right now there's a lot of inside Beltway drama with respect to Chuck Schumer. And obviously there's a lot of momentum behind the progressive populist wing of the Democrats with Bernie and AOC and the like, right? And and there's a lot of anger and resentment towards Chuck Schumer. People are asking, will AOC actually thwart Chuck Schumer? Will run against Chuck Schumer and primary Chuck Schumer? That's the question that he's going for. If Bernie runs again for president, somehow wins in 2028, was it all worth it? No.
And I'm very happy.
Bernie should have had 2 terms by now. America would be in a radically different trajectory, but I also would be actively fighting against the Bernie administration as well, most likely, because he would probably do a lot of the same, not to the same degree, but like he probably would be doing a lot of aggro foreign policy shit as well.
You should.
Here's Greg Kazar. Kazar pushes back against a Fox News host who claims that Republicans don't actually want to cut Social Security. There has been a little bit of disappointment from Kazar, I'll admit, because I really like him. I really like him a lot. And I was a little upset that he did not endorse Zoran, but you know, we'll see. And I do think that, like, dude, with the Palestine stuff, it's just like it is. He didn't endorse Zoran. He endorsed the other. There's a New York mayoral race happening. He endorsed the other progressive person. And also, like, progressive Dems have to cut the shit with Palestine. They can't. They cannot avoid the issue of Gaza. It is an incredibly important issue for the youth in this country, and it's just an incredibly important issue in general. It is like a major contradiction. It is a major contradiction. Israel's favorabilities are at an all-time low. Americans are frustrated on bipartisan lines. It does not make any sense that there are